When people think sociology degree, they usually picture academia or social work, right? Well, get ready to change that picture. Today, we're going to talk about how your understanding of society is actually a launchpad into the super high-demand, high-paying world of data science. Okay, let's be real for a second. When you hear sociology major, does a six-figure tech job even cross your mind? For most of us, probably not. But stick with me, because we're about to connect those dots, and honestly, it might just blow your mind. All right, let's just start with a number that kind of says it all. $112,590. And this isn't for some super senior person with decades of experience. Nope. That's the median annual salary for a data scientist as of 2024. So yeah, we're talking about a career that's not just super interesting, but also really, really well paid. And it's not just about the money either. I mean, just look at this chart. The demand for data scientists, it's projected to shoot up by a whopping 36% over the next decade. To put that in perspective, that's way, way faster than the average for all other jobs. This isn't just growth, it's a straight-up explosion in demand. Okay, so what does a data scientist actually do all day? Well, to really get it and to see how you as a sociologist fit in perfectly, let's borrow an idea from our source material. Think of a data scientist as a modern-day detective. But instead of solving crimes on the street, they're solving puzzles hidden inside huge amounts of data. So let's make that official. Using that detective idea, a data scientist is basically a pro who uses math, stats, and tech to solve these big, complicated business puzzles. And here's the key part. They turn all this messy, raw info, like millions of clicks on a website, into something super clear and useful. Like, hey, customers who buy this are 80% more likely to want that. So what's in their toolkit? Well, they gather and clean up data, which, trust me, can be a huge mess. Then they build models to try and predict what's going to happen next. They also create charts and graphs so that all this complex info actually makes sense to a normal person. And finally, they present what they found to the big bosses. It's this really cool mix of investigation, strategy, and even storytelling. Okay, now for the part you've been waiting for. This is the heart of it. How does a sociology background fit into all this? This is where we get to talk about your secret weapon, that unique, powerful edge your degree gives you in the data science world. Let's be super clear about this. If you have a sociology degree, you are not starting from square one. Your education isn't just kinda relevant, it's a huge strategic advantage. It really is your secret weapon that can make you stand out from everyone else. And this slide, this is where it all clicks. Look at how perfectly your skills map onto the job. In sociology, you learn to test hypotheses about how society works, right? While in data science, you build predictive models for businesses. You're trained to spot social patterns. They find patterns in user data. You analyze human behavior. They use that to get real business insights. See? It's the exact same kind of thinking, just in a different playground. Seriously, this is your built-in advantage. You've already done research methodology. You've probably spent countless hours in SPSS or R doing statistical analysis. You've trained your brain to think critically about really complex social systems. And that mixed methods approach you learned, being able to use both hard numbers and qualitative stories, that is pure gold in data science. And this right here, this is what really sets you apart. Look, pretty much anyone can learn how to write code or run a statistical model. But as a sociologist, you're uniquely trained to ask, why? Why are people acting this way? What's the human story behind this data trend? That ability to see the human context behind the numbers is what makes you so incredibly valuable. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to see it. Your sociology degree is a major asset. But how do you actually make that jump? Let's switch gears to the practical side of things and lay out a simple game plan for going from theory to tech. It really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you'll want to add some specific tech skills to your toolbox. We're talking programming languages like Python, R, and SQL. They're what you use to work with all that data. Second, start dipping your toes into the world of machine learning. But third, and this is the most important part, never, ever forget your why. You have to actively pitch your sociological insight as the powerful problem-solving tool it is. Oh, and here's a little pro tip we pulled from the source material. You can absolutely break into this field with a bachelor's degree. But if you're aiming for those senior roles or really specialized research jobs, getting a master's or a PhD can be a massive career accelerator. All right, let's start to bring this all home.
We've talked about the skills you already have and the plan to get there. Now let's talk about the future and why right now is just the absolute perfect time to jump in.
I mean, look at this. This career path really does check all the boxes. The demand in the market, it's through the roof. The salary, super competitive. The room for career growth, it's huge. And on top of that, the work you do can have a real meaningful impact on big decisions. In a world that's just drowning in data, a career like this is about as future-proof as it gets.
I just love this final thought from our source material because it really gets to the heart of it all. In an age of information overload, being the person who can find clarity in all that noise, well, that's not just a skill. It's a superpower. You literally become the person that companies rely on to make sense of the world. So yeah, the data doesn't lie. This is a golden opportunity, especially for people who have that unique perspective a sociology degree gives you. We've covered a ton of ground, but I'm sure you still have things you're wondering about. So what questions do you still have about being a data scientist? Go ahead and drop them in the comments below.